Hi guys. Thank you for joining here live with us on how to write personalized emails that convert. We have the host Karthik Raja. He's a seasoned GTM and marketing consultant. He has worked with companies like Waymo, Hyperwords, Lead Squad, and he's also the current founder of Revv Growth. We are working with a lot of companies like Atlin and Hasura. He has 2 decades of experience in SaaS marketing. He boasts over like 25,000 followers on LinkedIn at the moment. We do a lot of podcasting on YouTube and Spotify where we interview SaaS founders, C-level executives, folks who share their valuable insights on SaaS marketing. And then the guest speaker is Sujan Patel. Thank you for being with us here, Sujan. He has like 15 years of experience in email marketing. He runs a company called Mailshake, a platform where you streamline cold email outreach. He has written a book on 100 days of growth, which sold about 50,000 copies over the last 5 years. He also does a podcast called Shake Sales, where he imparts his wisdom on sales strategies with top leaders. So yeah, the agenda will be taken over by Sujan.
Yeah. So thanks,
Awesome.
Tahir. Yeah, thanks, Tahir, for the intro.
Go ahead.
So what do you, Sujan? I'll probably also start, give you some background. Like Tahir mentioned, I got about 20 years experience, and I started as an SDR. So email is pretty close to, to my growth. The last 20 years, I've done a lot of email. Probably sent millions of emails. So started basically with just the cold outreach with a very standard template that was given to me to kind of right now to evolve myself, and my team basically does a lot of personalized outreach. Right. So we've kind of gradually saw the evolution. I personally have seen the evolution of how a standard cold email has transferred, and then probably with the evolution of AI, right? It's kind of a little more evolved, and so I think, yeah. So whenever I basically whenever I have a challenge, I generally take that email route and come out of the problem. So I started as a consultant about 4 years back. So I did a lot of cold outreach and personalized emails. So my initial customers, like 90% came through cold outreach, and I did a lot of personalization and also proper definition of ICP messaging. Right. So I got that right. So which I was able to get initial 20 on an average 15-20 meetings a month. And then that kind of helped me scale and did a lot of consulting. I acquired about 50 plus customers using cold email outreach, and it's a combination of automated as well as the personalized email outreach, right? So that's in terms of how email is very close to me. So Sujan is a veteran here, so he's agreed to kind of talk us through in terms of how effectively you can write a cold email, and how you can personalize and stuff like that. So yeah, so over to you, Sujan. Thanks again for joining. It's a pleasure hosting you.
Yeah, my pleasure. This is what I live and breathe every day for the last decade. So this is something I know quite well and have lots of examples and whatnot. So first and foremost, we're going to go through the 3 areas of the agenda, and we might go a little fast. Karthik, I'll pull you in with if examples are needed, or like would love for you to chime in as you think, as you see fit. But for attendees, thank you for joining. If you have questions, use the Zoom link to leave a question, and we'll answer it at the end. We should have plenty of time for questions. The simple premise here is personalized emails work. I can share, the stats and all these numbers, but the simple answer is personalized emails will get way better response, open rates, and click-through rates than a non-personalized emails. And there are 2 main reasons for that. Number one, the email service provider, or the email client. So if you're emailing someone in Outlook or Gmail or G Suite or whatever email service that they have, it will get past the spam filters and also get past, it'll land in the inbox. It won't be in the promotions or spam folder. So that's one big thing. So from a technical, can this email reach the recipient? The answer will more likely be yes, if you personalize it. Number 2 is, if you receive an email, the recipient will more likely engage with it, right? So think about it this way. Personalized email is how you get in the inbox and land in the inbox. Personalized email, the same exact email, is how you get that 1 second or 0.2 seconds of attention and you turn it into 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So what I've noticed from, we've done probably a dozen or so studies. We typically do 2 a year, and we stopped doing them as much because the results are always the same. A personalized email performs double to triple better than a non-personalized email. Now, I know you're thinking, how the heck do I personalize dozens of emails, and how do I personalize all these emails if I want to send to multiple people? Well, that's kind of what we can get into a little later. It doesn't have to be um, fully personalized to that one individual. It can be personalized to that persona, for example. Effectively, a personalized email is, let's say you're emailing CEOs. You're emailing Kartik, right? We know he runs a consultancy or marketing practice. He's the CEO, and he's worked with other, SaaS and fast growing startups, right? So I can say something about being a CEO is hard. I can talk about, hey, like I too work with lots of companies. I could talk about the fact that his company size. If I want to go a little deeper, maybe I go on LinkedIn and look at what he's maybe mentioned or passionate about. And when I say personalized, I mean maybe just the first sentence, right? So let me give you a really, really, really bad example of an email. Hi, my name is Sujan Patel. I wanted to email you about my blah, blah, blah services. First of all, hi, my name is Sujan Patel is a useless sentence. You can see that from the sender. When you open my email, it says from Sujan Patel. So now you already know who I am. You lost their attention because you said my name is Sujan Patel. Second thing is, I wanted to email you about blah, blah, blah. You are doing the act of emailing. You do not need to say what you're doing. Just do it. Jump into, hey, a problem statement. Hey, are you struggling with just your work-life balance? I know many CEOs have blah, blah, blah. Problem statement, question mark. Your service or whatever you're selling is the solution to said problem. So you will personalize the problem. You might write it to, if you're emailing, let's say, consultancy CEOs, and you're also emailing recruiting firms, and you're also emailing, authors, it might be a little different. But effectively, I'm going to go back to the stats. I just want to share examples. Kartik, what have you experienced? These are great stats. Everyone here could read. What's your experience, Kartik, from like personalized emails and how you do this?
Yeah, so Jen, I think you're absolutely right. So I wish, I personally reported a lot of spam because people, basically send a message saying that, hey, I'm so and so, and we offer so and so services, right? So which straight away goes to spam. So what I've seen is during the evolution, right? In those days, when email and data was not a commodity, now email and data is a commodity, right? I think most of the times we all get access to a lot of data, right? So those days, for us to email somebody, we need to purchase a database from a vendor who will probably charge a lot of money to give you that database. And then email is also not a commodity because you basically have to, you have an Outlook, and then you have to do a mail merge on Outlook at some level, or you just have to do it manually, right? So it was the numbers and stuff which was practically lesser. And then we were also taught to information also was not available as easy as right now. So you basically had Hoovers and some database. So that it was earlier that those emails worked, and right now, because email and data is a commodity, you get tons of emails. Everybody sends out tons of emails, and everybody has access to data, and everybody has access to email tools like Mailchimp, or no, there are multiple tools, right? There are hundreds of tools out there. So because of that, you get tons of emails. So the only way to stand out from the crowd is by being unique. So when I say by being unique, you have to have some level of personal connect with somebody you're talking to, and you basically have to talk about, a specific problem that you're trying to solve. So I've always looked at, I took a problem and then I found ways to connect with them. There has to be some connect. For example, I found connect when somebody loves basketball, or when somebody loves like a Ferrari, or let's say a book, right? There's a common book that each of us love, or somebody that somebody like Bill Gates that so there's always a connect, and you can easily connect with yeah, that, and then trying to kind of bring out your problem in a way that the person also is interested to read and then connect and then respond, right? So I've seen those kind of emails. I've seen a lot of success personally for me as well, and whoever has kind of tried to connect with me on that level, I've mostly responded to those emails. But 99% I get a very standard email which is not even defined properly. The messaging is not clear. The ICP is not very clearly defined. I get a lot of messages from software vendors selling me IT services. There's no relevancy here, absolutely. So those kind of messages straight away go to spam. I am 100% with you. And anytime I go back, absolutely, you may also mentioned about that you stopped doing those, reports and stuff, right? Basically, you found out that every time the report comes back with the same results, which is better, personalized is better, right? So I've also have done this a lot, and a lot of the times what comes back to me also is that whenever we do personalization, we get better results. Whenever we do a standard message, we hardly get it. It's like a volume game there. So yes, from my experience also, the evolution with the evolution of let's say with the availability of email tools to data and then the usage of AI, you can basically find out any information about that prospect that you're trying to connect. And then if you find a way to personalize, I do an ultra personalization. I prefer an ultra personalization because that is, if you're able to do that, that's much better. But at least if you, at some level, if you're able to do a little bit of personalization, that's much better. I'll give you a very classic example of how my SDRs do this, right? When we are trying to sell to a content manager, so we have our SEO as a service, we do end-to-end content. I basically ask my SDRs to go to the website, use one of those tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush, find out the existing traffic, how much have they've grown the last 6 months, what is their bounce rate, what is their overall traffic growth, how many blogs they're posting, how many landing pages they have done in the last, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, right? We take all the data. We also go to the website, check out how many lead magnets they have, how many form fills, like how easy it is to fill a form. So we look at all the data, and then my SDR goes and says that, hey, this is your current situation, and this is what I think you have a problem here, and then I have a solution. So we kind of take that both route, which is at a company level like a personal type of a route, and also at a personal level route. Okay, so when I say personal level, it goes much deeper into what Sujan likes. Okay, and when it's a personal level, so Sujan as a CEO, Sujan as a owner of a function, could be an HR function or a sales function. Like what is he and what is the problem that he's trying to solve? And for me, I think both of that route kind of worked. The easier ways to do the personalization for the personas. The tougher route is to take Sujan as a person because it takes a lot more effort. But I think I agree with you on everything that you've said. This is my experience so far, and I'm very strict on not doing junk spam emails because I kind of told my SDRs also to not to spam and not to do an automated message because the automated messages, like you said, it got a lot of chance to go to spam, and there is a Google will anything that you report spam, Google Gmail kind of takes it very seriously. So absolutely agree with you on that.
So here's a good process for kind of writing and kind of doing the work for it. So step one, obviously, do some research. Now, here's what I recommend. You as the person sending the email or the strategy holder, before you give it to your team or scale this, do the work yourself. So start doing research. The reason you want to do research is, are you going to find the information about them on the website? Are you going to find the research on their LinkedIn? Are you going to have to look on like Yelp? Like depending on who you go after, you got to figure out where you're going to be able to find that information. You can check their social media. Again, where you check depends on what happens, right? So do the work yourself. Once you figure out, okay, I can do it. I can find people on LinkedIn. Then you can hire a virtual assistant or someone to do the research for you to find out what their interests are, what's something that they've talked about that's a relevancy factor or a topic to mention, and maybe their title. Then before you email anybody in scale, email 1 to 5 or 10 people manually and figure out if the problem you're sending aligns with what they care about. So be like, hey, Do you care about this? Is this something you're dealing with? Insert problem question mark. No call to action. No nothing else outside of validating the problem is real, right? So if I emailed you, Karthik, about do you care about professional headshots as a CEO? You might not give a crap about this. And there, if anything else I say after that is irrelevant, right? That's why step 4 about asking relevant questions. What you're really trying to figure out is this problem really resonate with the person? The next step is once you validate this with 5, 10, 15 people, you'll quickly validate because they'll either not respond, which is they don't care, or they will kick, oh man, this is not a problem, or oh my God, my hair is on fire, right? And then you can try to figure out your call to action. Is this can we jump on a call? Or is this validating? Is this click on this website? What is the call to action? And then you can kind of scale from there. Can you go to the next screen? So a couple of things to do is first and foremost, like Karthik said earlier, you want to set yourself apart from other folks, right? How do you do that? You have to do something that actually stands out. Clever subject line, short and sweet. So all of this personalized email also means you have to be brief, short. Remember, first and foremost, you got to get through the spam filters. Second, you have to get that person's attention. When you get their attention, you really have maybe a millisecond or 2 milliseconds for them to determine subconsciously if what the heck you're saying is at all relevant to them. So that is the subject line and the first line. Okay. And number 3 is the email scannable? Does this feel daunting to me? Right. So what's a daunting or what's too much? Long paragraphs, long emails. So the trick is to do very short, very brief. Think of your subject line as a headline for your website, but in the form of a question or even shorter. So, I think the biggest things here are you might need to write 20 or 30 different variations of the email or even just a subject line. Practice makes perfect here. And that way you can, maybe your 4th or 5th, 10th variation of that subject line would work. But it sounds really easy. Be short, be brief. But most people cannot describe their problem in one sentence. Your challenge is to do it in one sentence. So subject line short, first sentence, the problem you think the person is facing in one sentence, right? Karthik, is that kind of how you guys do it? Is that what's working for you, or what is working for you? Maybe a different question.
I think, yes, exactly. What is working for me is the same. So I will probably add a little bit. I'll go a little bit, before actually writing emails. So I take this. I've also trained a lot of SDR teams across the world. So the first training in research, I tell them to do 3 things. One is to do an account level research, contact level research, and a personal level research. Right. So what is an account level research? Is basically Mailcheck is an account. So I'm trying to, let's say Mailcheck is my prospect, right? And I think I'll do complete research about that particular account, where exactly I have, where exactly they have problems and what services or product I'm offering. So how do they fit there? And that is one level of research. You can actually get into a lot of detail about how to do that research. The second thing I generally tell people to do is also to do a personal level research. Understand who you're selling to. Understand your ICP so damn well that you kind of sleep. During your sleep, if somebody is waking you up and then asking you this question, you should be able to answer about your persona. So when I say persona, it's like, for example, a function. Let's say a function, right? So personas, you can classify them into 2 types. One is the industry type personas, and then the other one is the actual personas, right? So who's the buyer, right? So personas, there are different functions, right? So you sell to multiple functions as a product. Let's say Mailcheck as a product, they sell to marketers and some level sales guys, right? It could be product guys also, because their product guys also using for PLG, right? There are multiple use cases, right? So you have multiple personas to sell to. So you need to understand what problems that Mailshake is solving for each of those personas. Okay, so it could be one for a sales guy, it's a different problem because sales guys are trying to get meetings booked and stuff like that. For product guys, it could be okay, I'm going to send a product update email so that the objective is different there. For a marketer, the objective is completely different. Oh, I'll probably use the email tool to send out webinar invites, or it could be because I want to send a content syndication email, right? So it could be multiple objectives. So number two, you have to understand how your personas and what problems you're solving for them. Okay, that level of deep research will also help you identify a problem as a whole, and then standardize those problems across all of these functions, right? For example, if you write 5 or 6 problems for marketers, it's easy for you to write a proper email. The third level is the persona contact level research, which is as a person who you are, what cares, what matters to you, what is your career aspiration, what is your goal, what is your interest level, right? All of that at some level will go into a lot detail, right? So I kind of give options for people to choose these things, right? So however you want to do, you can do that. So when you ask me how I do it, now I do it with the persona type of approach because it's easily trainable. So my SDR team, we sell content as a service, we do SEO as a service, SEM as a service, we also do CRO as a service. So for all of this, my SDRs are trained to identify where the problems are at a persona level. For example, I gave you a similar example for SEO. My team will go and look at on the website what kind of a problem, like how many posts and stuff like that they do, how many blogs they write, or how much of a traffic they've seen. For CRO, we basically look at, we even become a lead and find out what CRO problems they have. Right? For example, I go fill a form in different places, and I find the problem, and then I go and then to the relevant person and say, this is the problem that I have. I filled a form, I haven't gotten a reply, or I've not gotten an email, or nobody called me, depending on the intent. If it's a high intent, typically this is what I say. If it's a low intent, I just wait for like 5-6 days and see if there's a message or a newsletter or whatever, right? So these are typical problems. My team also researches and then sends out an email. So this is a little bit of an easier, way to do because you can define a proper process towards this, right? Versus the contact level. Contact level is also much more deeply connected. So when I write an email, I go a lot deeper and then figure out multiple things: account level, contact level, and personal level. When I do it with my team, it's typically the account level and the personal level, not the contact level. Okay, so because you can actually define a process properly, and then it's easy for the SDR teams or whoever is doing the email to actually scale that, right? So that's how I've done this, and then that's what is working also for me, which is find the problem, take that problem. I'll give you a classic example of how this will look like, right? So hey, I was just going through a website and I saw that you have a drop in traffic for the last 6 months. I've seen that your traffic has been down for the about 40% or 50% in the last 6 months. And I've also seen that you're not posting enough content, which is probably the reason why you're not getting the traffic. Or maybe I'll say that hey, your referral traffic has also dropped down because your SEO or your social media is not working. Okay, and I also happen to saw your form fill that which is typically a 6-7 fields, right? So I'm also seeing that your conversion is a problem because with the drop in the traffic, and then the conversion also has a drop because you have multiple fields, and then the user generally finds it difficult to fill a form. So I see that you have a lost number of MQLs in the last 6 months drastically. So would that be of interest to have a conversation to see how we can help you? Number one, scale top of the funnel, and number two, help you also optimize the funnel, right? So which is increase the overall conversions from the form fill, right? So this is how my messages look like typically. Okay, but there is a template here, and then there is a information which we also fill in depending on the research we do.
Love it. Yeah. What I love about what you're saying is like, okay, so I want to dig in one step and just like talk through what you said. So first and foremost, you do extra research, right? So you have, in your case, ideal value and a very specific problem that you can figure out using public tools. So in your case, you're not only researching somebody on social media, you're looking up their website, you're looking up any gaps or problems. Again, this could all be, it sounds like, oh my God, how the heck am I going to go? How the heck am I going to go figure all this out? But really, you can use tools like Ahrefs or a number of tools similar or whatever, right? You could see traffic trends. You can have somebody look at the website and say, okay, look for these 4 problems, long form fields, whatever. But you're getting hyper specific with that because of the research. You're being hyper specific. If somebody emailed me and said like, you have a conversion rate problem, I'm going to respond or I spend not just 2 milliseconds. I'm going to spend 30 seconds, 2 minutes thinking like, oh shit, I may have this. I mean, I need to fix this thing, right? So by being hyper personalized to the actual problem, you're getting the attention, and you're standing out. So again, more is more research, more information, the better results you're going to have. And I will tell you, 99.9% of people out there, it's easy to stand out. Just don't do a half-assed job. 99.9% of people out there will send thousands of emails, tens of thousands of emails with very little effort and work, and they play the volume game. So just like, for folks who know me, I've said this for 10 years straight in all things digital marketing. Zag when other people are zigging, right? So if everyone's going volume, you go quality. If everyone's going quality, you go volume or try something else. In the cold email case, most of the time it is volume. Most people are going volume, so go quality. I want to take a second to answer one quick question, and then we'll jump into the rest. So how do I know if my emails are landing in the spam folder recipients? You can use tools to warm up your email. I think there's a cool new tool out there, Inboxy. We also have Mailshake's warm up tool. But effectively, you can use tools like that to figure out where your emails are landing. Are they landing in the inbox or spam? If you have a low open rate, sub 20, 30%, or you're getting messages back from, let's say, G Suite or whatever, then you likely have your emails are not landing in spam. I mean, they are landing in spam and not the inbox. What do you do to fix that? Warm up your email. Try using a different email address or a different domain completely. That's usually what's going to solve the problem. Should we just jump into Q&A since there's kind of quite a few questions coming through?
Shahid would love to show a sample personalized email that we've written, which has also gotten a reply. So I think one, Sanjan, you can also chip in. This got a reply, and then the CEO kind of replied saying, 100% mark on this and stuff, right? So I'll give you some context. So I got connected on LinkedIn, so I didn't send a message. I think there's a general situation on LinkedIn also, if you kind of know what's happening, right? So as soon as you get the connection request, you kind of are immediately sold to, right? So you are a CEO, you've been, founder, right? So you get that a lot. As soon as you accept the connection request, you immediately get a message. So in general, I think don't do that. Don't, as soon as you send a connection request, if you immediately send a message, and then it's too salesy, right? So that's something that you should not do, never. So this is a context where I've been connected to the CEO for a pretty long time, and I saw one of his posts about that he's working with a lot of retail brands, his ICP's retail, right? And he also mentioned the clients that he worked with. So it was a 2022 consolidation post, like the year, how was the year and stuff, right? So I immediately saw that and quite interesting. So I sent a message. Again, it had a context, which is I happened to see a 2022 post and saw you work with, that client name, which is also, you just masked it, and a lot of retail brands. Just happened to get and it's a suitcase brand. Okay, so it's a suitcase brand. So that is got the suitcase delivered today. It was a coincidence. Okay, just worked in my favor. And I said, your ICP's retail, work with companies similar in the space, Bamboo Lead Squared, Easy Rewards. They're also, Easy Rewards is the retail, they're also into retail, their ICP's retail. So let me know if you need marketing help. Happy to hop on a call. Okay, so here it's not very persona specific. You didn't identify the problem, but then I just connected at a different level with them. So this is one example where I got a reply, and then the CEO came on a call. He brought in his other founder also. It was an opportunity we created. So this is an example of one personalized email that that worked recently for me. Do you have anything on the previous email, Sujan, on the personalized one that you shared?
Yeah, it goes back to really being specific about the problem, doing your research. All these things sound like generic or like cliche, but the most basic things are the most important things. It's if you try to sell me a car and I'm interested in a bicycle, it's never going to work. So make sure you go after people who are interested in the bicycle. What I mean is validate the problem.
This was written by one of our work colleagues.
So let's also look at
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I got this message. So I'll tell you why this is pretty important. So I had a post which went viral. Okay, so she basically researched about me, and it said, I recently came across your B2B post on LinkedIn, and which led me to explore your profile. The reason why, right? She has actually this is a really good connect. Your journey from 20,000 to whatever, like 200,000, right? So which was truly inspiring, especially for newcomers myself. I'm in exploring your profile. Again, this is very specific. A lot of them want to understand why she's written. It is only connected to me. So that's the in a persona in a persona research, you can easily connect. But when it's written to me, nobody will understand. That's the power of even getting into a lot more hyper personalized contact level, right? So exploring your profile, I discovered that the founder of Revv. After checking your website, it appears that you publish blogs regularly. I noticed you an opportunity to optimize these blogs to increase traffic and enhance your domain authority. I've been a content writer for 2 years, collaborating with digital marketing agencies specialized in SEO. My expertise leads me to believe that I can contribute valuable solutions to improve your website performance. I'm eager to work with you and assist in driving more traffic. Could we discuss how to proceed further? This is a classic example of how how to write an email to a person like me. It's very straightforward, and the first two lines connected with me pretty well. She connected the reason of why she's writing. Also, in exploring in your profile, I discovered that you're founder. So there's a connect between each of those lines that she's written. So it was like for me, it felt like watching a really good, well scripted movie. So which had everything, and it had a connect with me, emotionally connected with me. First two lines and reasons why, and then find out found problems that I had, and then provided a solution, right? So this is a classic example of how to write a really really good personalized email, and which I received. Right, the previous one I wrote, then this one I received. So, Jen, anything on this?
No, I mean, I completely agree with you. I like it because you're one element here. You're giving someone a compliment. Um, everyone loves a compliment. Stroking someone's ego is the best thing. For example, I recently sent an email to a sales rep that I was recruiting. I was in conversation with. I'm like, oh, you ran a 10K. Congratulations. I'm running a 5K for my first time. Any tips? I just looked on his Facebook and I saw that post, again. So one thing about personalization, it can happen anytime in the conversation. It doesn't have to happen in the beginning. If you have that information, you can discover, put it through the whole email. But This is a good one. And you see how it's scannable, very scannable. I would say you can even condense this to be shorter, but still, it's good enough to get results.
Exactly. Yeah. So this I got a chance to read this on laptop, but I think I agree with you on the scannable part. I think the number one rule for email is if somebody is seeing that on the mobile, it should be scannable. It should not be like scrollable, right? Anything that is scrollable, people generally tend to lose interest, right? As soon as you see the mobile, I think you should be able to scan the entire message on the mobile itself, and that's a well written message. Yeah, it's a little longer comparatively, right? Just that happened that I happened to see this on the laptop, but again, like a really really good email.
Yeah, I think there are some questions on the Q&A.
Okay, let's jump on to Sujan. Let's jump on to the Q&A. I think we have another probably about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
There were questions that we got before the webinar. So as soon as somebody registered for the webinar, there were some questions and there are some Q&As here also. Tahir, you want to take the questions? You want to ask it to Sujan?
Yeah. So the first question goes like, cold email format means what exactly should be written in a cold email to get clients for agency?
Short, scannable, right? One sentence, two sentence paragraphs with a clear call to action. Don't overthink the format. Just make it brief, very easy to scan.
So the next question goes like, how to write emails that get into the inbox? Checklist to lower the spam score.
Start with a short, simple subject line. Personalize at least the first 1 to 2 sentences. If you make if your email is very short, like 2-3 sentences, problem, potential solution, call to action, 3 things. If you personalize the first part of it, you effectively have a very personalized email in percentage of copy that's different and unique. So when Google and any other email provider looks at, personalization, they're thinking, how much percent of this email is the same as what else is out there, and what else has this email sender sent. There's 2 types of spam. There's two types of, or actually 3 types of what can land you in the spam. There is you emailing someone, that's your email provider looking at your spam rating, meaning how unique is my email from a sending perspective. That's one. Personalization helps with that. Again, personalizing the first part has a heavier weight. You make your email shorter. Effectively, any personalization you do is making the overall email more unique. Okay. Number 2 is the email recipient's email provider. How many emails is this person getting that look like this email, right? Is this good, bad, ugly? Okay. And number 3 is any additional malware security. Think Barracuda networks, think McAfee, think Norton antivirus companies, or additional security protocols on top of mail recipients, mail provider. If you email big Fortune 500 companies, they've got a lot more. And typically you need more personalization, less volume from a specific email to hit that inbox. And even then, you might not hit that inbox. You have to figure out workarounds, or maybe you have to do more one-on-one, less automated emails.
We have another question saying, what do you think is the future of email marketing?
Everyone seems to say it's dying, but how much time do you spend on your email? It's the majority of communication with external folks. So it's here to stay for the next decade. From there, I don't know. It's not really going anywhere. The only thing that's changing is how strict mail providers are and how many emails you can send. If you personalize and you spend more time on the research and validation of a problem, and being thoughtful about your prospect. So again, like Karthik's first email, he did quite a bit of research. He, put more effort into it. That's never going to go anywhere.
Right. And the next question, how to increase more valid leads through email? I mean, that's a very long, you'll have to give a very long answer to that.
I don't know. It's like, how do I run faster? I don't know. Practice, right? It's too vague. I don't like, you kind of need to figure out, I'll break down the way to solve this problem yourself. First and foremost, really figure out who your leads are. Who is the person you're selling to? Where can you find them, right? If you can find them on LinkedIn, or they're more B2B, you might be able to use tools like Seamless, Zoom Info, Clay to find the leads. Then you got to do what we talked about around research of the leads and validate the problem. Then you can start the cold email process at scale. But I'm sorry for a vague answer, but I don't know who your customer is. You don't know who your customer is. You got to figure that part out and see if you can find leads. And the last part, we talked a lot about problem of the recipient, the person you're pitching. But I want to make sure we talk about what's your solution. If you're asking, people always say, "Oh, I wonder if you have 15 minutes of time." I'm the CEO of 4 companies. I don't have 15 minutes. I have to schedule taking a shit, right? Excuse my language, but like 15 minutes of my time is very expensive. I'm unwilling to put that much time into a cold email. But if you ask me a question, I might respond, right? So again, that's me. Project might have a different opinion. You have to validate how important your solution, or what the right call to action is, as well as how burning of a problem of this is this. Now, like Project, your example of like traffic is going down and you're losing conversions. Like you're just losing money. Like one small change can be double the business effectively, or double the new revenue, new growth. That's a big problem. I would jump on a call for that. If you said this is broken, I might just fix it, right? So you have to figure out, is your solution the right thing? I want to give you a quick example. I own a company called ZoomShift. ZoomShift is a scheduling software for hourly workers. Think people who work at restaurants, retail, security guards, all sorts of things where they have a block of time they have to work. Anyways, I want to define that as the problem. Now, 5 years ago, when we first acquired this company, we could cold email people and say, you're spending we would cold email the HR manager, the person in charge of scheduling. It would be the owner. It would be the whatever manager of the company, or it would be an HR person if they have an HR person. So those are the three personas, okay? The same problem exists. You're spending way too much time on scheduling. You should, if you use a tool like ZoomShift or scheduling software, I guarantee you can do this in 15 minutes a week. Are you interested? Or are you spending, or another alternative is, hey, you find yourself spending a day or two a week scheduling your staff. You want to fix that? I run a software that can help you. 15,000 customers are using ZoomShift to schedule in 15 minutes a week versus 1 to 2 days. Something like that. I'm just spitfiring. That worked 5 years ago. Okay. Fast forward 5 years to 2024. If I sent the same cold email out, it wouldn't work. Do you know why? The thing that has changed is market conditions. Well, it turns out over the last 5 years, all of the people in the space that do scheduling software, there's like 20 of us, they've all captured all these customers. Before, my customer was not using any software. Okay. Now they're most likely using software. And so their decision is they've already identified they have a problem. They've already fixed that problem. And now I'm pitching people to switch from a competitor to me. The problem, although is probably similar, is different. I have a solution. Why is my solution better? Is it cheaper? Is it faster? Right? Now, if you think faster, if that person is spending 15 minutes a week on a competitor software, am I going to save them 5 more minutes? And is 5 minutes worth switching over? Think about so today, that would not work. So you have to reassess your problem statement, especially if you're switching IT, if you're pitching IT software, you're selling marketing services. That's freaking hard. People have probably already tried this, failed at it. Like they might be tried it 5 times over. So if you might want to say hey, I'm sure you tried this and failed, or you've given up on this, or something, like acknowledging the fact that this has been done. But hear me out. Here's why this will work this time. I have a blah, blah, blah strategy that 1, 2, 3, why it can work. Again, that's what I mean by really digging into the problem. And sometimes you just have to make phone calls and validate via email. I know this is long and lengthy, but if you're selling IT services, outsourced dev, offshore dev services, recruiting, remember, your customer has already bought the service. What makes you different? What makes you a multiplier? How are you 10 times better? If you're not 10 times better, are you 10 times cheaper? What's different about you that is actually unique? And I say that's not the problem. That's digging into the solution, but not enough people spend time on why am I better?
Okay.
I have some questions
Yeah.
here on the chat also. So I would love to ask the first one. Could you please share some examples of subject lines for outbound emails that work well?
Are you spending so the ZoomShift example, are you spending too much time scheduling? Question mark, right? So are you spending too much time is my problem, right? Maybe it's are you not getting results from your content marketing? Are you spending too much on development? Are you able to hire a developer? Are you struggling to hire a developer? These are all simple problems. Take what I just said off the top of my head and shorten it to the most almost punctual way. When I say almost punctual, it's okay to be not perfect English here, right? You can say too much time on development? Is dev too expensive? You want to reduce your R&D spend? Those are kind of short and punchy headlines, subject lines.
I agree with that. Even for me, this kind of subject lines, right, which is a question asking a very specific problem. When I was, about 4 5 years back, I was also SaaS is pretty new, right? I think SaaS is not that evolved. I use this subject line as that kind of worked well for me. I asked this question: are you in charge of process automation? Okay, and basically that created a curiosity of why this person is asking a question. Then there were a lot of replies for that. So the question, if it's shortened, you can't use a bigger question. If you are using a very smaller question, that worked. And some of the research also, what has worked for me also. This the highest performing, typically the cold email subject line ever is quick question, and that also used to work way back, but that also stopped working now because everybody is using that quick question, right? I think quick question Sujan, quick question Karthik, right? I think that's one of the best performing subject lines ever. And there was, everybody started abusing that message, and I think everybody now kind of, as soon as they see a message, I think they kind of think that is a spam. But I completely agree with that in terms of asking the relevant question, asking the relevant problem, like asking if you have that problem creates curiosity, and then eventually much better open rates. There's a next question. Uh, how to identify actual problems that matters to the intended recipients? Since research is from public available platforms where everyone positions themselves well or in a positive manner, in my experience, the problem assumed while sending the cold email versus the actual problem when we get to meet the decision makers. So that was a question.
Easy answer for me to say, hard work for you to do. Okay. Stop using the platform and actually talk to people. Okay. Let's say you're selling to a VP of sales. So Mailshake, our buyers, head of sales or an SDR or the person doing the outreach. But sometimes it's the manager. I will go talk to 20 different managers. I will pay them $100, $200 an hour to figure out what the heck the problems that they're facing are, what problems they're willing to spend time on solving. But there's no solution better than talking to a human being that's doing that role. And it does, I'm not going to lie, it takes a lot of time. It takes money. But would you rather not spend the time and then waste effort on cold emails for 6 months or 3 months? You're effectively losing more time and money not doing that versus doing it. So I would recommend spending the effort on talking to the actual person you're selling to.
I'd like to add a couple of points also. I'm 100% I agree. As a marketer, when you're doing messaging and narrative, when you're actually doing product marketing, right? The first rule of thumb is to speak to the actual customer, identify the problems. That's the rule of the thumb, right? I think if you're not able to do that, there is always a shortcut. I'll probably give you a couple of examples of how I've used this. So way back when I went to 2005, 2006, when I started in marketing functions, right? So those days there's no social media, and there's not a lot of platforms available. So my manager taught me how to do research. He basically said, whoever you're selling to, whoever you're marketing to, go to job sites, download 100 resumes, right? And then do a consolidation of all of the resumes and find out what they care about, what they're happy about, what are the responsibilities, and also see what problems they have solved. And in most of the resumes or the CVs, right, I think people actually talk about the problems they've solved, responsibilities, and what they want to become, right? And that was a great way for me to understand what my personas want, and that happened way back. But now, when I want to do some research, if I have time, again, I speak to the customers. But for a lot of our customers, we can't talk to the actual customers. What we also try to do is to understand the persona through social media, which is go to the LinkedIn profile, see what they, their job profile, what they basically have all the job profile, all the information about their job, right? So if you kind of scan through 20, 30 LinkedIn, you'll get a fairly good idea in terms of what problems they're trying to solve. Now, that's a shortcut, but again, if you're actually deeply interested in solving a problem, I would definitely take what Sujan said actually, right? Which is talk Go, if you're not able to pay, just ask for a favor, right? Say that, hey, I'm trying to build a product and this is the problem I'm solving. I need your feedback, right? It's not going to be a sales call. I'll definitely need a feedback. So if you do 100 of them, you'll definitely get 20 people, who will agree to talk to you. But don't sell on that call. Like, I think the biggest problem is people like that, they abuse also. They bring you on the call and then they'll try to sell you. So which is also not right. I think, Sujan's thing, if not, there's a hack which I actually gave you. So then, should the goal of the email be to establish contact or to close a sale?
Start a conversation. Get a reply. I've never seen one email close a deal unless you're selling like a $5 product or like it's a simple, like use this script, it's free. And that actually has got to be the last question. I think we got a lot more questions here. I know cold email is a topic where I was like, how do you personalize this to me? How do I do this? So I think, Karthik, maybe if we get enough questions or response interest, we can do a follow up and just Q&A with this.
Sure. I think, we are almost end of the conversation. If you have a minute, I'll just probably there are questions that don't need a deeper answer. How lengthy the email should be? I think we've already answered that question. Scanable, right? I think Sujan kind of explained that in detail. Should the research be in an attachment as a PDF or in the body of the email? I think I'll answer that question. Don't do attachments PDF because attachments PDF has a better chance of going to spam. Always body of the email and make it very text heavy. Not don't do any attachments. If it's a simple text message, I think that's much better. So the subject line be creative or to the point. What really works? Any samples, please? I think we already answered that question. So Sujan gave an example of how to write a subject line as well. I think with that, I think we have almost answered all the questions.
Karthik, we do have some questions in the chat.
Yeah, it's time. I think we can probably get back. Sujan's is also almost end of the time. Yeah, Sujan, I think. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure. On the subject line front, just ask the question and then write it out and see what you can do to shorten it. Ask the question on the problem you're solving, and then shorten it. Write 20 different subject lines. You will solve the problem. One other thing you can do is a hack. I suck at writing. So I've been writing for all the largest publications, but people don't know I actually suck at writing headline copy. I write the basic idea and I hire an editor, a copywriter editor, usually on Upwork or something like that. And I ask them to edit it, make it better. Usually people can make my content better, but they can't get my original thoughts out there from the beginning. That's what I do. That's my expertise and experience. Good news is you don't have to hire an editor today. Go to ChatGPT, go to Gemini and say, here's my problem. Write me 15 subject lines that are problem-based. Guarantee you're going to get something good. And just take a look at those and edit those. You be your own editor on AI. So that's a really quick app you can use to help create 20 different subject lines based off a problem statement, making it short and sweet. Some of them might be crazy and might not work, but at least 1 or 2 will be good.
Do you have some more time, like 5 minutes, Sujan?
I actually have to hop.
Okay.
We got another conversation to go to, but thank you all for Karthik and Revv Growth for having me. For those who want to kind of follow along, or you're welcome to ping me. I'm most active on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn/Sujan Patel.
Yeah. Thanks, Sujan.
Thank you for joining us, Sujan.
Thank you.
Pleasure hosting you.
Have
a great day, Sujan. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thanks for joining, guys. Tahir, guys, do you want to stay back? I think we'll probably answer the other questions also.
Yeah.
Tahir, let us complete the questions. Whatever you can ask me, I'll try to answer as best as possible.
So this was the question by one attendee. So the invite I received for today's session, I landed in my spam folder. I had to mark it safe and it moved to my inbox. What steps do you take to ensure your email do not land in the spam folder of your recipient? Okay,
so one, I think, we can't control this, right? So however you try to do, there are some emails which will actually go to spam. So what we try to do is, one, we do a lot of warm-ups, right? So there's an email warm-up process. There are a lot of tools which is actually giving you that. Sujan also had a tool which actually does email warm up. So we try to warm up the email as much as possible and make sure that at least there's a certain set of emails that goes to that land in inbox versus spam, right? You can't avoid 100%. That no tool can actually do that. You can probably there's a probability that you increase that chances of getting the inbox by doing the steps, which is to warm up the tool as much as possible, make it text based, text heavy, right? Make it readable, scannable. Don't do a lot of links and stuff inside an email. So all of this, if you try to avoid, there are spam messages, words that you can avoid. Okay, so these are the best. There are best practices. If you follow those best practices, you can reduce the probability of you know that spam, but you can't completely avoid that.
Thanks for the answer, Karthik. And we have another question. It goes like, we are contacting people on LinkedIn, early stage startup founders, with a value prop saying we will build your MVP for 5K a month for 6 months. Do you think it is too aggressive for this to be included in the first message? How would you put it? We tried saying we talked to 500 plus founders, and we find most of them face the same problem: development, which is too slow, way too expensive, and then give them the value prop. However, doing this, I've gotten, so why are you so cheap and so fast? So your value prop probably slow. And personally, I couldn't find a way out after this one.
Yeah, this is a classic example of what not to do. You're trying to get a deal from the first message itself. I think Sujan also answered that question, right? The first message, the objective of a first message is to get a conversation, not to sell. You have
Yeah.
sold everything on the first message itself. You kind of said the timeline, you kind of said the pricing, and pricing is pretty cheap, right? I think you're giving away too much of information, and it's very salesy. That's the reason why we talk. So at least you have to understand what the problem they have. They might have the problem, but like you, there are hundred other people who's also sending the messages, right? So you're one selling. You're trying to place the price game, which is you coming up as too cheap, right? I think that's a big no for anybody. MVP for 6 months again without knowing the scope of the project. How will you build in 6 months, right? Which is also very difficult to understand, right? Why will they hire you? Because one, people hire you not just because you're cheap. People actually should know that you can add value to whatever they're trying to do. Okay, so which means
Right.
you sell the outcome, not the price, right? The outcome of an MVP is one. What is the outcome of an MVP, right? The faster you go to market, the better it is. So you have to sell the outcome, right? The outcome is eventually for a founder. He wants to build a product that can be used by that can be loved by a lot of people. So you always sell an outcome, and there are a lot of challenges with this message. I see that too early to give all of that. The first is to get somebody on a call, understand what the problem is, understand, talk to them, do a discovery call, and then pricing comes up at a later stage, and then timelines and stuff based on the scope of the project, right?
Yeah.
Which means if I'm getting a message like this, I am obviously as a founder, I kind of assume that you don't know anything,
Right.
okay? Because that's how it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it,
So, then
Karthik.
any
We don't have
experience
any.
of trying to get a prospect who was the tough nut to crack and the duration it took? Again, this message is this call is about email, right? So let's not talk about sales stuff here. Yeah, cool. Questions done, Tahir?
Yeah, Karthik. Those are the questions.
Okay, done then. Thanks.
So we'll close this up, Karthik.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining, guys. We'll meet you again with another webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for joining. Cool guys. Bye bye.
Bye.